Moving to a new country is thrilling, but it brings new challenges. Among the biggest ones, finding the right bank. Local U.S. banks require appointments at a physical branch, address proofs, and sometimes deposits of up to $1,500. The entire process can take weeks. Moving across borders means leaving your credit score behind. Banks won't issue credit cards without one, but without a credit card, you can't build a credit score. Chicken and egg, isn't it? A lower credit score means expensive rental deposits, high interest on loans, and lower chances of qualifying for a job. Forex cards and international debit cards carry markups and may not work at some merchants. So when moving to a new world, why settle for banking that just isn't your style? Introducing Zolve. We make your US move seamless. Get a US bank account in minutes from the comfort of your home and transfer money before you travel. Zolve offers credit cards with a limit of up to $10,000 without an SSN or credit score. Choose a reward plan, earn cashbacks, and build your US credit score from day one. Zolve reports to all 3 credit bureaus. That's not all. Get a US SIM card with up to 30% cheaper plans and access affordable health insurance, renter's insurance, and car loans. Join a community of 400,000 Zolvers from over 100 countries. Get Zolve today.
Hi, Shreya. Welcome to Visa Websites.
Yes, hello, hello everyone.
The floor is on you. And
All right. Okay, everyone. I'm Shreya Pandey. I graduated from BITS Pilani after pursuing my graduation in computer science in 2019. Thereafter, I joined Swiggy as a software developer. I always had plans for higher education and was looking into options. I think around maybe around 2021, I decided that I want to pursue my master's from US, and thereafter I started researching on GMAT, the university options, the courses of options, and everything. So that takes a lot of effort, but I'm sure the people here have already overcome that. So big kudos on that. Um, After clearing through all of those exam and application processes, the moment of truth arrives when when you get to know about your decisions of the various courses and universities that you applied. So I got acceptances from 4 universities for my MBA program, and had applied to 4 of them. So I chose Northwestern because I think I liked it the best, the course structure, the rankings, and everything. I got this. I was around 2 applicants, so I got notified of the same in March, and around April I made the decision of going there. But and right now May is going on. So I would say that one mistake that I did was to start this visa process or the preparation for the visa process quite late. Not quite late, but I could have started it sooner. So you need to have a lot of documents ready when you actually apply for visa. I know the slots, as most of you people would also know, that they broadly open in 2 major bulk openings. One bulk visa slot opening is in May, and the other one is in June. But you need your I-20 from the university for that. And since universities are a lot very busy around this time of the year, so the I-20 processing times also vary, and they might take longer durations. And for you to get your I-20, you also need to have certain documentation in hand, um, proof of funds, your personal documentation, and a lot many other things that need to be submitted to the university to get your document. So I would say start preparing all these documents very early. Get in touch with your university as to what documents are required, how much time will it take for the I-20 to get. So start all those processes quite early on, so that you have your I-20 ready. And once you have your service ID from the I-20. Um, Even when the visa bulk slot opening comes, you can be more ready to apply for the visa slot. So I was not able to apply for get a visa slot in the first bulk opening that happened in May because I did not have my I-20 that time. Just after 3-4 days of that bulk opening, I got my I-20, but alas, the next visa slot opening was in June, so I had to wait till that time. And it was a lot of anxiety for that because once you get your visa slots, you are quite sorted. I mean, at least one thing is checked off from your list. But till the time you are not getting your visa slot, that is one thing that keeps on revolving in your head. So yes, you eventually get it, but better for it to be done sooner than later. So yeah, I was waiting for it in June, and around 19th or 20th of June, I don't remember the dates exactly. The second slot of visa openings came, and I was able to get a slot. I got slots for late July in Delhi, 26th or 27th July. Then I rescheduled it to Mumbai for earlier dates, I think around 22nd or 23rd July, something around those, because I was flying to US on the 6th of August. So if I could get those visa slots early, it takes, in my experience, it takes maximum of a week for the passport to get delivered. Or if you are planning to pick it up from the consulate itself, you can, if it is approved, you can pick it up the very next day of your visa interview. So I had to keep that leeway for the passport to get delivered. So I was looking for an earlier visa slot, and you can obviously reschedule it uh, after even booking that. Just make sure you have a slot in hand. So yeah, I think the my whole visa interview went well. After you get your visa slots, you will have questions as to what kind of questions they will ask or what will be the process around that. So there's a lot of stuff on internet around that, but I think the basic question is like just be thorough with why you want to pursue that course, why this particular university, what other options do you have, like if you got acceptances from any other universities, how are you funding the course, whether it's through scholarship, self-funding, family, all of those kind of things. And to whatsoever way you're funding the course, you need to have the proper documentation, financial documentation around that. Sometimes they might ask for the proof. And yes, and when do you plan to return, or what are your plans after your course? So generally people advise that just tell them that you want to gain certain work experience in US, and thereafter you plan to return back to India applying those learnings. So this is what most people advise. And yes, so these are the basic questions. It's not a very long interview. Um, if you cover these things, it will be a short interview, and they tell you on the spot itself whether your visa is approved or rejected. If it is approved, mostly it is approved. You can pick it up the very next day from the consulate, or it will get delivered to your address if you had chosen that option. Um, and even if it's rejected, you are given the passport there itself. So that's no need to worry. So after getting visa, I think the other thing starts then the preparation to travel abroad, of like preparing to go to a new country. So yes, start with the packing, explore the airlines or the carriers that you want to take, and the documentation. You also need the proper documentation in the airports, even while departing India and reaching India. You need to have your I-20 admissions letter, obviously passport and visa with you, because that is what will get stamped um, through immigration and when you are entering to the new country. So keep that in mind, and also make sure that the validity of your passport or the expiry is not nearby, because you need to plan accordingly for that, like if it is expiring within the next 6 months or so. So, since it's a very new country, there are lot many things to take care of. I think one of the issues is the SIM card. So I think Zolve offers SIM cards. You can avail for that. And obviously in US, you need to build your credit history. It's a very credit heavy economy. So whatever credit history you built in the India is irrelevant when you go to US. You need to start building your credit history there, and you won't get many credit card options there, because as a student you are, if you do not have an SSN or if you're a student, you are not given a lot of credit cards. I think Zolve captured that problem very correctly. I'll, based on my credit score in India, I was provided a credit card through Zolve. In my circle, a lot many people use Zolve credit card as well, and that has been a boon for us, because even as students we have a lot of expenses, living or otherwise fee related, and while paying through that, we are able to build a credit history, and it has been a seamless experience so far. So yes, I think that was my journey. It has been around 9 months since then. I know there's a lot of process involved in the beginning till you actually arrive in the country, and even when you arrive in the country, there's a lot of setup that needs to be done. But yeah, I mean, you are going as a community. There are people who have done it before you, so it will get sorted. And once you arrive there, there will be a community as well who are all trying to figure out how to sort their living arrangements, or how to get accustomed to this very new environment. So it will all get sorted. So yeah, all the best for the whole process.
Uh, but voice properly.
Yes, it's audible now.
So if you have any questions from ask her. She has been here last year. I think she will have any comment about. I would also like to inform all of you that attending this webinar, special visa for all. So make that comment section. Uh, Everybody who will fill this form in a visa folder, and you this visa interview and as well. Shreya Bhargavi, have you waited till you 20?
Yes, because your I-20 has this service ID, and you need that service ID to fill the DS-160 form.
So the questions will be, I think, will be best, sir. I'll address these questions, so I'll request you to tune. Ritu is asking, Shreya, can you please elaborate on your experience?
It's a mixture of things. I have a loan from the university, scholarship, savings of my own. So it's a combination of these things. Um, you can check out the loan options from your university if they're offering, or through Indian bank accounts as well. SBI, HDFC Credila, these people offer loans. Then Prodigy Finance, Empowered Finance. Uh, these are the agencies offering loans as well. So whatever, just start the conversation, and where all you can avail the loan options depending on your finances, and whatever interest rate or however suitable it is to you, then you can go ahead with that.
Uh, you answer asking swing as time and full time. So how well it is as in the previous section it asks but my post-graduation program is.
Got it. Not very sure of that because I have not faced this issue. But uh, po- but if you're working, um, I'm not really sure of that. Maybe contact. I think these people have email ID. You can contact that, or if there are other visa-related experts, they can help you with this. But even I was working till late before I applied for this. So I think there should be some option of currently working. Like you can tick that off so it doesn't ask for the end date then. But if that option is not there, then maybe just email them.
The next question is asking how to find off-campus university. I think that among students.
Okay. So, in US, like it depends where you are living, like city to city. I think the first point of contact would be to get in touch with the other students or the seniors from that particular university to find how they found their accommodation. There might be a scenario that those people are graduating or like seniors are graduating, so they are just you can take over their lease, so it becomes less of a hassle to find an apartment of your own. That is a good option, and they will also tell you the other channels where they were able to find the accommodations from. Other than that, I think there are websites like apartments.com that you can use to have an estimate of the rent near the university by checking all the filters. And maybe if you want to sign a fresh lease, then you can use that as well. But I think the first point of contact would obviously to get in touch with the university seniors or your peer group as well, like in your same batch, they would have figured something as well.
Great. Also has a question. He's asking show in finances, intuition, and living experience.
So for your I-20, I think your university tells you the amount of that you need to show in funds for the I-20. So if you cover that amount, that is sufficient for you to get the I-20. But in the visa interview, these people say that whatever amount, if X amount is shown in your I-20, it's better to show a little more than X, maybe 1.25 or 1.5 times of X, just to be sure of it. But if you have the amount covered, like even just the I-20 amount covered, that would also be fine.
Okay. Um, Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sanjay Kaushik. I'll be now talking about the DS-160 and what all you should do and take care of your DS-160. And then also I'll be answering your questions, which you can keep typing on the chat bot. Okay, so the first thing is in order to start your DS-160, you should have your I-20, because the DS-160 would have a lot of details which you have to fill while filling your from the I-20 while filling your DS-160. So first, let's understand that the I-20 is actually coming from the Department of Homeland Security and also from the USCIS, along with the university. So if you look at your I-20 carefully, the top left, it would clearly mention that it is coming from the Department of Homeland Security. So which means that, two major US government departments are actually working on the I-20. And when you start filling a visa form, which is called the DS-160, the DS is Department of State. So that's how everything gets interconnected. So when you get your I-20, make sure that your name, your date of birth, and your passport, and of course, all the details, like the program details, are absolutely correct. All right? Your I-20 should match up your passport details. So when you start filling your DS-160, the first thing is that, when you start filling your DS-160, you have 30 days time or the window to submit your DS-160. But once you submit your DS-160, then you cannot actually retrieve that information and make changes. So it's very important to start filling your DS-160 very carefully. And once you submit your DS-160, it stays in the system for 99 years. For example, in the future, when you're applying for your OPT, which is the optional practical training, or if you're applying for your H1 or any other visa category in the future, the first DS-160 would always be in the system. And the immigration or the State Department or the Department of Homeland Security could actually retrieve your application to verify the details. So when you start filling your form, make sure that all the details are absolutely correct. The things that once you start filling your DS-160, you cannot change are going to be your name, your date of birth, your passport details, and your place of birth. So make sure that your passport details and your DS-160 details are absolutely matching. So there is a lot of question while filling your DS-160 that if you do not have a surname given on your passport, what do I fill? According to the visa regulation, if on your passport, if your full name is mentioned in your given name, and if there is a blank on your surname, then while filling your visa form, you have to, in your surname field, you have to mention your entire name. And in your given name on your DS-160, you have to mention FNU. All right, so let me repeat. If your passport does not have a surname, and if your entire name is mentioned in your given name, then on your DS-160, you have to reverse it. In your surname, you have to mention your complete name. In your given name, you have to mention FNU. All right? Or if you have time, you can still go to the passport office and try and get the bifurcation of your surname and your given name bifurcated, so that when you go into the US with your visa, your driving license, your social security, your bank account details would match up your I-20 and your passport and your visa details. Otherwise, each time when you go into the bank, it'll always mention your entire name in your surname, and given name would be an FNU. So make sure that you make those corrections now, right? However, and the other question that comes to me is if my passport address is different than where I'm currently living, which address should I fill, right? So what you need to fill is your current address, where you're physically residing. It could be different from your passport. That makes no difference. For example, somebody was staying in Chennai, right? And then eventually started living in Bangalore, right? But your passport still has your Chennai address. So mention your Bangalore address where you're currently residing, all right? So that's the address. And of course, in the US address details, if you do not have an accommodation which is already booked, or then you can simply mention your school details, the address where you'll go and live. All right, so mention your school address, the school details, unless the school has provided you specific details in terms of providing the contact details while filling your DS-160. If you do not have those details, then you can simply mention your college details. The telephone number and the email address would be a common, if you go onto the website of your school, you'll find those addresses and the email address and the contact details. You can mention that. Unless the college has provided you an address or a contact detail, then you can mention those. Otherwise, simply mention the I-20 details, which is good. All right. And then if you have relatives in the US, the first thing is like, a lot of people talk about if I have a relative there, will it be difficult for me to qualify for a visa? That's not true. Even if you have your own sibling living in America, you must mention that, because on his application or her application, when they were applying for their own student visa or their H-1 visa, they would have mentioned the name and telephone number or the date of birth of the parents. And when you are filling your DS-160, you would also be filling out the name and date of birth of your parents. So the system would throw up into the system and show that you have a sibling there. So mention that you have a relative there. It makes no difference, trust me, because that is his journey or her journey, and your journey is different. So as long as you understand why you want to go and study, what you want to go and study, and how will that help you in your career progression, it makes no difference. All right. So DS-160, coming back on that, there's also a question: person or entity paying for your trip. Even if you've taken a complete education loan, or even if you're getting a full scholarship, I always recommend that do mention the name of your parents there, because by doing that, you're proving two things. One, you're showing your social ties to your home country by saying that my parents are going to sponsor me. And then by showing that they have funds, you're also showing financial ties, which is also an important component on how to qualify for a visa. So on your DS-160, even if you're getting a 100% scholarship, or even if you've taken an education loan, mention your parents' name, because that would really help in making a decision in your favor by the visa officer. So that's about the funding. And then it also asks for 2 contact details in your home country. So have no confusion, because they're asking you for those contact details for anyone but your relative. All right. So you can mention the name and their contact details and the address of your friends, your neighbors, your classmates, your schoolmates, your friend of your parents, anyone except your relative. It's not that the embassy would be calling them to verify details. They don't do that unless there's an emergency. All right. So that goes in for the name of 2 contact details in your home country. Also, there's a confusion that my admission offer has a different program details and my I-20 has a different program details. Which one should I fill? Go according to whatever is mentioned on your I-20. So what happens is the immigration, the Department of Homeland Security and the USCIS has given a portal to each university which is authorized by the government, and they have a drop down to select your program. So they would select the program which is the closest to what you will actually go and study or your specialization. So please don't worry. Whatever is mentioned on your I-20, mention that as the program that you're going in for. During the interview, you can justify this to the visa officer, because they also understand, they know that it is their program or their system which has given that kind of a program details on your I-20. So don't worry. However, if you're going for a program which is super specialized, and if you have an admit offer which talks about that, during the interview, you can discuss that and show that to the visa officer as well in case if this question comes up. All right. Now, if you're currently studying, so let's say that somebody has already completed their studies, right? So they would mention in your previous studies what have you studied here, and you can mention your program details, and the start date and the end date could be an approximation. It doesn't have to be an exact date. All right. However, if you're currently studying, then the system will not accept a date which is in future, right? So if you're currently studying, mention today's date, because the system would not allow you to do that. So mention your today's date, and then once you mention that, there's an explanation box that opens up. In that explanation box, you can easily and simply write that currently I'm pursuing my BTech and I'll be finishing my program in June of 2024. So that's how you justify that, because the system does not allow you to take a future date. All right. So that if you're currently studying, you can mention that your today's date as your end date, and in the explanation box, you can mention that. All right. All right. So like I said, right in the beginning, that you cannot start off filling your DS-160 until you have your I-20. So make sure that you have your I-20 and only then start filling your DS-160 application form. All right. So if you have any question related to DS-160 or anything to do with visas, you can always keep posting your questions. I'll be more than happy to answer those questions. Thank you. Mansi, would you like to take the questions? Mansi, we cannot hear you. So if you want, I can take those questions and I can answer those questions.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Oh, yes, now you're audible. Yes. Yeah. So do you want to read it?
Audible now?
Yes, you are.
Cool. Cool. So sorry on the network. I hope this is the point of discussion. We are going to discuss so many information, so much, so many facts about. And target is to again. I'll repeat this again. This in every webinar that are from the noise and give you the right. That's why he's an expert and he will be able to give you all.
Correct. Absolutely. Like, with all this digital platform coming in, providing so much of information and so much of misinformation, it's an overload for students. We understand that the students are going through a very stressful time because there is so much of noise. So that's the whole idea, to come and provide relevant information, and which is like, I can back up my experience, say it is going to be absolutely authentic, that the information that you get from here. Thanks. Yes, Mansi. Right.
So yeah, before going, tell everyone you can fill the form in the able to so you can arrange your for visa interview, travel itinerary, documents as well. Be helpful for in your visa journey and your journey. Also, you have enjoyed this webinar so far. If you think it has helped you and your friend by filling the form there to attend, so that you and your friend. So we also have a WhatsApp community. More than 500 of you have joined. Slots and slots have everyday conversations, sir. So would you like to say something? Why the slots
Right.
be able to not have so there are a lot of students I can see on everyday basis. Question again.
Most definitely. Like, I understand that this is a point of contention. A lot of students are stressed whether they'll get the appointment or not. So I honestly say that, and if you look at the data of the last year also, if you just Google it, how many visas were issued last year by the US Embassy, you'll find out they issued about 140,000 visas, which means 140,000 visas were issued last year, right? And right in the beginning, when I said, when you get your I-20, your I-20 is actually coming from the Department of Homeland Security and from the USCIS. And the Department of State is the US Embassy. So I'm sure they all are communicating with each other, saying that, A, we have issued, let's say, 100 I-20s. Similarly, the embassy would be gearing up to release those kind of slots. So that's one. If we look at the US Embassy website, the US Travel Docs, when you click on the non-immigrant visa, there a pop-up that comes in, and it has been coming in, and they posted this about 2 months ago, where they mentioned very clearly they would start releasing the appointment sometime mid of May for the month of June and July, right? And then I also started getting a lot of messages yesterday with the US Embassy post saying that they've already released the first slots for the May. Honestly speaking, I have not seen that those slots, because we keep monitoring the system. Our office keeps looking at the slots availability and all that. I've not seen them. However, once again, be rest assured, anyone who has a valid I-20 starting mid of May, you all will start getting your appointments, and those appointments are going to be in thousands. It's not going to be, that they'll release it and instantly they'll get finished, they'll get over, and then there'll not be any appointments, right? It's not going to be like that. I also hear a lot of people talking about saying the bulk slots, right? So first of all, the embassy understands the number of students going from India. It's a for them it's a big deal. So they all understand that students are going to go from India. Not only you, but a lot of people are repeatedly, constantly writing to the embassy. Even our government is writing to the embassy saying that why aren't you releasing the slots for tourist visas and student visas. So be rest assured they would be releasing those slots repeatedly. So don't worry, don't stress. By mid-May until May, June, July, you all will be getting appointments. Please, thank you so much on that. Yes, Mansi.
Everybody is clear because again I would say this is people are really anxious. So I would suggest we provide you all. So yeah, questions were answered. In case you have more questions, dearly, we are happy to address each and every. So
Yeah.
So you can start posting questions on the comment. Before we like to about Zolve, uh, you uh, you'll have to apply for a SIM card, a US and a US checking account in India to the US. And overwhelming. Why Zolve is here to make it easier. So with Zolve solution for everyone, for every student working professionals, there who are planning to pursue the undergraduate or any university in the US. You will also get education offers from top providers. One and soon we are increasing our. So I'll suggest visit Zolve and scholarship loan programs. You will need a credit card. So always why that your finances well even before the because to get in the US you social security number. Social security numbers you will have a job, which will, because on F1 visa you only do an off-campus job. This if you are checking account, a US credit card, social security just by providing simple or a checking account being provided in. So, sir, we are ready to take questions.
Sure.
Yeah. Take from Sai Kumar asking how many you have applied 20 days.
Okay. All right. So
I think is what is trying to.
right. So
Sure.
Sai Kumar, it depends on what kind of program you're going in for. If you're going for an undergrad, so most of the students would definitely would apply to about 20 universities or 25 universities, and it also depends on the number of admits you've gotten. If you've gotten all 20, it's a very good thing. Let's say that if you've gotten 10, then you can simply mention I applied to 15, got 10 admits. Just match up the ratio. Sometimes I guess where this question is coming from, your concern is, does that show some kind of desperation that I applied to 20 universities? The answer is no. It does not show a desperation. It does not show that you were not very sure of what you want to do. It is just that you wanted to have a healthy mix to make a right decision for yourself. So it's not you don't have to hide that up. It's not that you need to shy away from there. So make sure that you must know the kind of program that you're going in for, and your choice of university should be based on the course content, curriculum, which matches your career objectives, right? Not that it's a affordable university, so that's the reason I've chosen this, or my friends recommended that. those are not the kind of answers that you should be delivering to the visa officer. Your concern in terms of choosing a university has to be very clear. The course content, the curriculum, the teaching methodology, the practical approach, the research options, and most importantly, it should match up with your career objectives. Thank you. Yeah.
Dr. Deep refused last November. So what should I write in box?
Okay, so Dr. Deep, it also depends on what have you studied here, what are you currently doing, and what were you doing, and what were you going to study in the US. I'll give you a very general example. You should write by saying that after completing my BTech or whatever you studied, I have been working in the industry for X number of years, and while working, I realized that it is important for me to upgrade my skills because the technologies have changed. So after completing all my prerequisites, I applied to 5 universities, got 3 admits, but I've chosen this one because I would get the right kind of education to achieve my career objectives. I have enough funds to take care of my education expense. However, when I applied for my visa, unfortunately, on the given day, my visa was refused under Section 214B. So this gives you an opportunity to explain your situation to the officer, not just simply saying that I could not convince the officer or I was not given an opportunity to explain it. You don't have to go through any excuses. Just give a little background, talk about what prerequisites you've done, and how will that help you achieve your career goals in your home country. Always try and mention that you have reasons to come back, and then say, unfortunately, it was refused under Section 214B. Thank you.
We have more with us. First of all, ask everyone have DS-160 filled, and some who all have some, and they're confused or not. Would like to tell us in the comment box already filled and submitted your DS-160, because I think in this webinar we are focusing more on addressing questions about DS-160. So beneficial for every one of us. I have been to address that delay. So Praveen is asking,
Okay.
I have a bit of that in my visa.
Okay, so Praveen, first of all, I've in my career I've seen a lot of people those who had this stammering problem, and when a person is going through a anxiety, they tend to stammer a little bit more. So the first thing is please don't worry at all. The visa officers are very humane, I would rather say. They understand that any student who's coming for an interview is nervous, and you have to be a little proactive. Once you go there, you can tell this to the visa officer, sir, I have a stammering problem, so please give me an opportunity to complete my answer. And they absolutely understand, and they would be more than happy to give you that opportunity. All right. The only thing is that don't shy away. Go there, be upfront, tell the officer this is what this, that they would be really accommodate you and give you that option and opportunity to complete your answer. So don't worry at all. Thank you, Praveen.
For answering this. Next question, Harsha. Asking, I am a 2020. I'm applying for fall tour. How to mention the near gap in DS-160?
Okay. So Harsha, I mean, it all depends. What have you been doing? If let's say that you were enrolled for some short program. If not, were you contributing in a what do you say to a what do you say voluntary work? If you're doing some research, it all depends, because giving an answer like this would not be an appropriate for me, because I don't know your background. I cannot give you an appropriate answer. Try and fill that gap by saying that I was doing some prerequisites, I did a Coursera program, or I did some short programs which are related to what I want to go and study in America, or I was helping my father in his business, right? Try and contribute something. Just saying that you were not doing anything may not reflect very nicely to the visa officer. So try and put some element there which is related to what you've been doing here. Thank you.
Is in DS, should I add the unpaid internship in the work section?
Well, definitely, like I was talking about Praveen, who had a gap. If you have been doing unpaid internship, well, definitely mention that, because anything that you have contributed would really help, because whether you're getting paid or not, but if you're doing an internship and if it's related to what you were doing, it really, really reflects that you have intentions to go and study abroad, because now you've realized what is the importance of improving on your skill sets. Yes, you should mention that. Thank you.
Question: How to look for flights?
According to my training, and if you look at the US Embassy website, they say very clearly, do not resign, do not sell your house, do not book your flight tickets until you have your visa in hand. So I would recommend, that's your personal choice. That's your entirely personal choice. But as far as I'm concerned, I would only book my ticket once I have my visa in hand. Thank you.
And once your visa is approved with many light offers, there's one more reason for you to check out Zolve.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, I wasn't aware of
This is
that.
from Sumit sir. We every year we come up with light offers to help
That's very good.
student tickets cheap. So for P, in DS and just detail in education sector, I forgot to mention my second. Will it?
Oh, not at all, Sumit. What you've done is absolutely correct, because it says that, mention education secondary and above. For a PhD, I'm mentioning it. You've not done anything which is incorrect. So if somebody is going for bachelor's, should mention their 12th. If somebody is going for master's, then 12th and the bachelor's. If somebody is going for PhD, bachelor's and master's, good. Don't worry at all. Thank you.
So again, and he's asking, and I have fall 24.
Yeah, so I guess
1 year gap.
yeah, there was a similar question, so I said, I don't know if you've done, any volunteer work, or if you've done some short programs, do mention that. Or your father's business, do mention that, which is, which becomes relevant in your profile. Thank you.
Okay. Again, question: How 6-month gap?
Again, it's a very generic thing, Manshi. It gets very difficult for me to answer, this question, because depending on every individual profile, then we have to build that up, saying this is what you can mention. I'm really sorry, but on a platform like this, I wouldn't know what is his background and how to justify it. If they can explain that situation, send you an email, and then we can answer that for sure.
Definitely. Question: Is it okay to show in 2 years displayed in the form of loan amount?
All right. So, when I was talking about the funding part, I always tell everyone that, one of the most important component of the visa interview is showing strong ties to your home country. So what does that mean? That means your social ties, your financial ties, and of course your professional goals, right? Even if you're taking complete education loan, right? It is important that you carry financial papers of your parents, the annual income, the total savings, investments, and property. The way you answer the question is also very important, because we as humans would always connect with the first answer, whatever you mentioned in that sequence, and then we would possibly not hear whatever the latter part is, right? So when I say important thing is showing financial ties, is when the officer says, how will you fund yourself, rather going and saying that, sir, I've taken an education loan which covers the entire expense, turn that answer into talk, saying that, sir, my family is there to take care of my expenses. My father is working, or my parents are working, or we have a business here, and we have a current annual income of so much. We have savings and investment worth so much, property is worth so much. However, because the education loans are easily available, I've taken the education loan because I want to be responsible for what I'm studying there. And I would like to repay the loan once I return back to my home country. in easy installment and also get a lot of tax benefits. That's how you can justify it. And that's the sequence you should mention, that you've taken a loan, not just straight away that I've taken a loan. Thank you.
Great. We share sisters for sponsorship and other expenses and still on F1 visa. Will this affect my chances?
Okay, so like I said in my previous answer, the officers are looking at your financial ties to your home country. If you're getting some kind of financial aid from a relative who's in the US, then the officer may believe that maybe your family does not have enough money. However, because you've already mentioned on your DS-160, make sure that you carry all the financial papers of your family from India, right? What are your parents doing? What's the annual income, their income tax returns, the savings, investments, and properties. And during the interview, you can mention, sir, because I was running out of time and I had a deadline to meet to submit my documents for my I-20. So my sister volunteered, right? However, my parents here in India have enough money to support my education. And if required, my sister can also contribute, but here my parents are going to take care of my expenses. So please mention that during the interview if they ask you specifically on this one. Thank you. Yeah.
So Rohil is out of my university after getting.
Well, there are two ways of doing it. The first is if you've gotten your F1 visa stamped on your passport, and if you want to travel to the US on a different I-20, not a good idea. It is better to apply for your visa all over again and then change the service details. And because each visa, a student visa, would have the name of the university and the service detail mentioned on your visa itself, right? So it is very university specific, right? So make sure that you apply for a visa in India, get your new visa stamped, and then travel. If not, if you want to use the same visa, then you have to enter the US and then report to the university for the visa which has been issued for. Tell them that I've entered the US. However, I want to exit your university. So they have to exit you from their system. And once they exit you, according to the visa law, it says that once you exit from that university, you have 30 days either to leave the US or report to the other university. So if you exit from there, then you have to go back to the university where you want to go and attend your program. They have to then again update your service and request the USCIS to transfer your entire details to the new university. Then you can enroll there and start studying. However, after that, once you complete your semester or 2 semesters, and if you have to travel to India, then you have to take a new visa, get the new details on your new visa, and then re-enter that, right? So thank you for that. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Next, do 10th and DS-1 bachelor pass.
Okay, so secondary would mean 12th. So 10th would be elementary, right? So just your class 12th is good enough. Thanks.
Location 6 university where how would it in the interview?
Well, when you're going for the visa interview, the officer says how many universities you applied to. So your answer would be, sir, I did my research, applied to 6 universities. However, when I heard from this university, I did not pursue the others because I really like the program, the course content. It matches my, career objectives, and plus, this university was also offering me the electives because I would want to, for example, enroll for management or finance, things like that. You can justify that, saying that once I heard from this, I did not pursue the others because I really like the program of this university. It will not impact negatively. Right. Thank you.
Ritik, who is asking how should I opt extension in the visa to university? One was not. And this reason that opt and not.
Okay, so first of all, OPT is available for all the universities. However, the difference between a management program and a STEM program is a management program would only give you a 12 months of OPT, whereas the STEM program, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, would give you 36 months of your OPT in the US. You don't have to mention this as a criteria of choosing the other university. Your criteria of choosing the university has to be based on your career objectives, So you try and link it with the university that you want to go and study or you intend to study with your career goals, the program, the course content, the curriculum, right? You must know what program you'll go and study over there. Not that, I've chosen this because it gives me an option to do a 36 months of OPT. That's not a valid reason for you to select. It has to be the program that you're going in for. So try and focus on that program when justifying why have you chosen this university rather than 1 versus 36 months of OPT. Thank you.
Then is asking after 2 problem. Is the problem?
No, it's not like, if you've gotten to a better university and if it's a better program, then it's fine. If it's a lower ranked university than the last 2, then of course there's a problem, right? So make sure that the university that you're choosing this time is better than the last 2. That's my suggestion. Thanks.
Okay, so repeated questions. Like to address that. We'll take a question from he's asking fly program. Now, as I have some 160 visa fee.
Okay, right. So if you have not booked your visa appointment yet, then yes, you can go ahead and fill a new DS-160 and update your portal, with your new DS-160. I think that would be a good idea. If not, then you can always justify that, my parents are there to support me. We have savings, investment, both X amount. And if the officer says, why have you mentioned self? You can justify by saying that, sir, I chose self because I thought it is only for my travel. But if you have the option and opportunity to change it and make it your father and your parents are sponsoring, you must do that. Thank you.
So next question is from semester held in June. So how to that in interview that my result?
Well, most of the time, every year, this is what happens. Like, if you're completing your BTech and if you have an appointment in June, the results usually comes later. So in that case, carry all your 7 semester mark sheets along with a course completion certificate from the university. That works. Thanks.
I'm is going for MS Health with 5 months. Mention that on DS.
Well, you could always mention that you've been doing. Yeah, correct. But here you can always mention that you've been doing a lot of health camps, as volunteer work, and this is where you realize that doing an MS Health in informatics would really help because I'm a dentist. I'm looking at larger, options to reach out to public. So not only justifying your gap, but also justifying why you chosen MS Health informatics would really contribute. So mention that you were doing a lot of voluntary camps over here. Thanks.
Mistake in his says I have number in place number. I understand. I have submitted use the same to pay the visa application.
Okay, Aadhaar number, mentioning Aadhaar number as national identification number is fine. So it's not a mistake. Go for it. Thanks. It's not a mistake.
Smriti in the DS visa scheduling.
No, not at all. Because if you've not booked your visa appointment, so like I said in my previous answer, you can still go back and change your DS-160 number. So your DS-160 number and your scheduling portal number should be the same. So because the dates are still yet to be released, you have the chance to make those changes now, and which you can do it easily. It's not a big deal. Thank you.
Amount is more than expected expense. Do I still need any finances for initial?
Okay, so what I assume is that the stipend that you're getting is coming from the US, right? from the US university, and it's beyond your tuition and your living expense. So like I said, even if you're getting a full scholarship, it is always good to show that your parents are going to sponsor you, because they're looking at your social ties and your financial ties, not the availability of funds. Showing that stipend or getting a full scholarship only shows that the funds are available, right? But in order to qualify for a visa, it's a good idea to carry documents from your parents. Thank you.
Next, Deepak, if I need to passport but have on previous passport, I need to get.
So Deepak, I mean, if you look at your I-20, it does not mention anywhere your passport number. So I mean, you can just use your new passport and fill your DS-160, because I-20 does not have a passport number. Thanks.
Next, I have a full from school expenses and loan sanction later. Is that sufficient? Only rental will I get rejected?
Not at all. I mean, you can always carry the property papers of your family. You can carry the rent agreement, their bank statements, so they are, by just showing, like I said, and I keep repeating myself, it not only shows your financials, but it also shows your social ties, right? I mean, you could always say that, my parents are there to support me. They have a rental income coming in. However, looking at my credibility and my credentials, the college offered me a full scholarship, so there are no funds required from my parents. It's the way you answer the question. Thank you.
Questions. If it's unique, I would like to answer. Graduate, and I have after I have 3 years experience, I need the gap.
Not really, because if you look at those the DS-160 visa form, it talks about your previous education and your current job. It does not ask for gap. So just mention your current job experience and your previous education. That's it. It's as simple as that. Thanks.
Interesting from the address is what should I have city and field?
Okay.
City New Delhi and state is
Right. So you can mention the way you mentioned here that city New Delhi and state Delhi. That works out fine. Absolutely.
I've done internships during that. I mentioned as I am a student at university.
Right. Okay. So here the question would be: have you previously been employed? So obviously you've not been employed because you're still a student. So when you mention that you're a student here, and you mention, like I said, you have to mention that you're currently a student. You have to give a date for today, because a future date will not be accepted by the system. And then there's an explanation box that opens up. Over there, you can mention this, that I'm currently finally a BTech student, and I'll be graduating in June or July of 2024. And during my third year or my fourth year, I had the opportunity to do paid internships. And this is what I did over here, right? So you can explain that in the explanation box, not separately. Thank you.
Next question is: defer I-20 after usual, which I received website. How is the university and program? Why did new service ID? Please help.
Okay. I mean, so what happens is, if you've deferred, and sometimes the university has to close their details and get you a new I-20, even if you're going to the same university, because they have two sessions. One is the fall and the spring session. And like I said in the beginning, each I-20 is not only issued by the university, but also they have to report all the I-20s issued to the Department of Homeland Security and also the USCIS, right? So they probably would have closed, and informed that, these were the number of I-20s, and these were the students that came into our university this year. So the rest of the I-20s, they cannot keep them alive, right? They have to close it to complete the system. Otherwise, the system will not allow them to move on to the next, probably the next semester. So probably that's the reason they would have closed it, and then they would have issued a new I-20 with a new service ID. Now the question is, if you have a separate or a different service ID, and if you paid the service fees of $350 on the last service fees, and if it's less than 1 year, then you have to go to the fnjfee.com and ask them to transfer your service fee from the old one to the new one. All right. Make sure that you have to fill a new DS-160 with the new service number, because, like I said, once your visa is approved, on your visa, the name of the university and the service ID would also be mentioned, and everything has to be in sync. Thank you so much.
So I have a
Yep.
question in behalf of everyone. On what time can we make changes in our DS-160 form?
Okay, the first thing is like,
What is
right. So two things. If you heard my conversation, it is that when you start filling your DS-160, you have to complete your DS-160 within 30 days, right? Once you submit your DS-160, then you cannot make any changes on your DS-160, right? However, this stays in the system for 99 years. Now, so probably the question is that if I've submitted my DS-160, now can I fill a new one? Right? So that's one. Yes, you can fill a new one with make those changes. The second part of the question is that if I fill my DS-160 and if I have already created my profile and paid the visa fees and not scheduled an appointment, you can still go there and if you fill a new DS-160, log into your profile through which you paid the visa fees with the old DS-160 number, you can still go and make a new change in that, right? And then resubmit that, it works. The third question is that if I've filled a new DS-160, if I've paid the visa fees and I've booked the visa appointment, if you book the visa appointment, then you cannot make those changes. In this scenario, you have to carry both your DS-160 confirmation page and explain it to the VFS office, saying that you identified a mistake there, and they would accept it. Make sure to carry your old DS-160 and the new DS-160 as well. So I've given you all the three scenarios that you can actually counter, and you can actually work it through. Thank you.
Definitely. I think it will help so many viewers right now. Next question is, I think visa portal, if number is in.
Okay. No, the system would not allow you to do that. What you have to do is you have to log into your profile, which has the incorrect passport number, and then you have to, message them saying that this is what has happened, along with a copy of your passport, and ask them to change it. They would do that. It's a process, and they keep doing this every day. So don't worry. You don't have to create a new portal because it'll keep conflicting it. Thank you.
Next question is from Anu, who is asking, do officers see documents?
Okay, Aditi, not really. Like most of the time, because it's an interview-based process, so the officers usually do not like to see documents. They like to hear, they like to have a conversation with you to understand each answer and your intent. However, it is important that you carry all the relevant papers because it is officer's decision and prerogative. If he wants to see documents, he can ask you for that. But they do not see it, but it's not that they will not see it. They can see it if they want. Thank you.
I'm electronics background, going to pursue computer masters. Why are you converting?
Okay. So the first thing is like, in all my, what do you say, Instagram posts and also on my, on these groups, I keep telling everyone that, do not see this as shifting from a particular program to a B program. Always look at this as multiplying your skill sets, right? So if you have an electronic background, if you're going for computer science, look at what are your career objectives. Let's say that you want to come back and work for, let's say, L&T, which would give you the opportunity to develop software with an electronic background, so you'll be a better person who would be suited over there, right? You could be coming back and working with television industry, so you could develop software for them because a lot of people now want much more or more apps on their phones, on their television. So you would be the right kind of candidate to work on those kind of platforms. So look at that as multiplying your skills rather than shifting it. All right. Thank you.
Next question is, sir, I my university to refute a problem.
This we already answered. Like if you're going to a better university,
Yeah.
it's not a problem. But if you're going to a lower ranked university, then this could create a problem. So try and look at the ranking of the university or the program that you're going for.
Next question is, what should visa interview?
So two very important things: wear your attitude. So that's one thing. Be very confident. Wear your confidence. So that's one, right? The officer is not looking at what are you wearing. He's looking at your answers. He wants to hear your confidence. He wants to see your intent. So wear whatever you're comfortable in. Not that you have to just wear a old T-shirt of yours. Dress up nicely. It's an important interview, but don't get overly dressed like a coat or a tie or a suit. No, you're a student, so dress up like a student. Be comfortable. Be confident. Answer your, work on your answers. So wear your attitude and your confidence. That's what I would say to everyone. Thanks.
So next one, Deep is asking, I have got my I-20 showing certain proof of funds on PPF. I want to show additional sources of interview. That
Not at all. That's the best way of doing it. Like, I keep saying financial ties, parents earning, savings, investments. So what you show for the I-20 is only the availability of funds. Whereas when you're going in for your visa interview, the officers are looking at your financial ties to your home country, right? So carrying additional papers from your parents it's a very good idea. So carry all possible, income proof, the savings, investments, and property of your parents. That's very good. It's not a problem. It actually complements. All right. So thank you. Carry those documents for sure.
So next question from Gitanjali. Estimated expense is $K for 1 year. My course semesters 5 I-20 pound $50K. Fund. My dad is employed and doesn't do.
Okay. All right. So very good question. Yeah, because I keep listening to this 1.5. I don't know who has, designed this 1.5. I really don't know where it has come from, but I've been hearing this for the past 5 years now. All right. So the officers are not looking at the availability of funds, right? They are not looking at what is your how much do you have in your saving. They're looking at your overall, right? So in overall, you can show their savings, investments, and properties and all of that. And showing as much is not an issue, right? So you can carry all the PPF, property papers, fixed deposits, shares, bonds, all of that. It could be way beyond 1.5, but it's not that you have to show 1.5 of the I-20 amount in the savings. That's really, really not true. Cumulatively, yes, you can show as much. Thank you.
Yes, sir, I have not planned my travel to maintain ticket DS-160.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. So not at all. Like, the visa officers are really not interested in looking at your tickets because let's say that somebody goes with a ticket and saying that, sir, kindly issue me a visa at the earliest because I have a flight on 2nd of June. So he'll say like, why did you buy a ticket? I did not tell you this. What if I don't issue a visa to you? So buying a ticket is not mandatory. All right? It's not. And they're not actually looking at that.
Okay. Moving ahead to next. Mention intended length of DS-160. Would this affect OPT period?
Not at all, because once you enter the US, the validity of your visa has nothing to do with your stay, right? So it's a very important thing and also a very good learning for a lot of people and students here. That once you enter the US, your visa validity has nothing to do with your stay. So that's one. Once you complete your studies, all right, and you have to go for an OPT, make sure that you go to the ISSO office or the DSO office, the students, international students and scholars office, and take permission from them, saying that I've got this internship. Now they have to apply. There's a process that they have to complete to get your visa status changed from F1 to an OPT. And then once you get the OPT, then the extension of OPT starts over there, right? So make sure that you take all the required permissions before you complete the process of changing from an F1 to an OPT, all right? So make sure, so visa approval, visa validity has nothing to do with your stay. Once you're about to complete your studies, go to the ISSO office and request them to help you change your visa status from an F1 to an OPT. Thanks.
Next question is Shreya. Can I book different location from a DS-160 due to unavailable?
Yes, you can do that. The system gives you the option and opportunity to change your locations. So yes, you can do that.
Interesting question, sir. When the visa from how preparing for the interview?
Okay.
Answer.
So your answer would be starting from the day I decided that I want to go and study in the US. That's when my preparation started, because my whole idea of going to the US is to upgrade my skills and then return back to my home country. So my preparation, not only for the interview but also for my career, began from the day I started thinking of going to the US for my higher studies. It's not that I prepared 20 hours. I prepared for the last 3 weeks. It's not the answer. The answer is ever since I decided to go and study there.
Next, father's name is slightly different. And Rajendra, education document Aadhaar. Do I have to find this for DS-160?
No, not really. I mean, it has no effect, because Rajendra Kumar or Rajender, even Rajender would have a different spelling. So it makes no difference. The officers are not looking at, a justification or a affidavit, not required at all.
Correct, sir. Now on to next question, which is by Sangeet. How to tackle this question of having two IDs from university?
Well, a lot of people do that. I mean, let's say somebody is applying in computer science, so probably their focus would be largely towards either New York or towards the West Coast, where is California, right? So you would say, sir, I did my research, looked at various colleges, in New York, in Texas, in Chicago. However, I've received admit from 2 of these colleges in California.
Khan has a loan. Again, loan. I am Indian, but my father have shop, mechanic, car repair, and shop is registered, but monthly 5,000.
Okay. So the question is,
Following passing the visa interview, the visa check.
well, I've already answered that, that most of the time the officers are not interested in looking at the documents, but make sure that you carry those documents in case he wants to see. But once your visa is done, once you get your passport, I mean, there's no submission of documents at all, unless they want to ask for it.
Correct. Retake the just laws decide not to. All university apply waived. What is the question?
Okay, so it's basically MKS. It's basically your decision to take the GRE. Because during the pandemic and after the pandemic, most of the universities have already waived off. However, if you take a GRE and if you score better than your last one, it would definitely complement during your visa interview. You can always mention that voluntarily.
Next is Priya. Can we require OC to visa portal details? See edit document.
Can we the OFC to cross check? I mean, if you fill your DS-160 and if you've already created your profile, and if you've not booked your visa appointment, then yes, you can, on the top it says start a new application. You can click on that and check all the details. But VFS will not do that for you. Thanks.
Correct. Ask this setup and definitely see you in.
Yeah.
So you with a lot of students, what do you think is the common problem in all? What is the common feeling right now?
Oh, the common anxiety, of course, is the visa appointment. But I would always tell someone that visa appointment is a part of the process. They should more focus on how to qualify for a visa. I mean, they can definitely get a visa appointment for sure. But their focus at this point of time is more towards how do I get a visa appointment. Let's say that you get a visa appointment and then what. So it's rather start preparing for your visa interview, start understanding your program, start understanding your career objectives, look at the content, rather than just having a very, very narrow, focus on the visa appointments. Visa appointments, like I said, you will get it, but, start looking at how do I qualify for a visa is more important than anything else, I would say. Yeah.
Definitely. Last question and then we'll wrap up for today. Sanjay is asking, in DS-160 form, under travel, have you made specific travel plans? So what should be yes?
Well, it is better to mention or select no, because it gives you the leverage of not being more specific. Because if you say yes, then they're looking at your travel date in specific. When do you want to enter and when you want to return back? So when you say no, then you have to just give a date when you want to arrive in the US, which could be within 30 days of your program start date, length of stay, depending on what program you're going for. If you're going for an undergrad, then 4 years. If you're going for your master's, then 2 years, or if it's mentioned less on your itinerary, then mention less, right? So that's the way you need to answer if you've made any specific travel arrangements. Say no, give an approximate date, intended date of arrival, and 2 years for masters and 4 years for undergrad. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing valuable information with us here. And for their organized, will definitely do a live DS-160 session where you can sit with your questions and we will explain each section the ideal way to, and we will any words from you.
Sure. First is thank you for joining the session because whenever students join in and ask questions, it's always a good idea because at large, a lot of students could benefit out of this. And also Zolve doing a great job by organizing this and also taking, the initiative of taking the students to the next level where they can actually enroll with you and take all those benefits. Thirdly is very importantly, focus more on your career objectives. How do you qualify for a visa? Visa dates, I'm sure, will be released in the coming next week. So don't stress. All right. So wishing you all the very best and probably see you in the next event. Thank you very much, Mansi, and thank you everyone. Bye bye.
I hope in case you have missed the question, request that question form. You can put that during the uh, we will use question for sure. The free webinar will be giving visa for that you use for you to manage your travel itinerary. You can carry immigration in the folder as well. QR code and fill out again. I repeat, if you can put that question. I would like to take as Zolve. Guys, you are applying US credit card to make US. So need a Zolve credit card without any SSN. You have to make fee. The application is very smooth, and going to this, you will be delivered to you, and once you transacting and from day one. So make sure you check uh, checking account. You can also use QR code to visit Zolve. Application for you is free. Reach plan depending your is absolutely everyone have SIM card. You can scan code. Also join WhatsApp group where regarding visa. We thank you so much for joining. Thank you so. We'll definitely see each and every one of. Have a
Thank you so much.
great weekend.